You know, when it comes down to it, Spotify is a pretty amazing streaming service. But it's pretty crazy that you can access the history of music and for one monthly fee, listen to pretty much every album ever. But it's also a void of content consumption where we're overloaded with a glut of music coming from a million different places, while Spotify makes all the money and artists get screwed. You know what? I would say my relationship with Spotify is conflicted, to say the least. But I do love it too. Life is such a contradiction. These are the reasons why I love and hate Spotify. Hey everybody, it's Nick here with you. Welcome back to the channel. You know what? This is a video that I wanted to do for a very long time here on the channel, so I hope you'll indulge me. As an avid Spotify user and listener, I wanted to talk about the very conflicted feelings I have for this very popular streaming service. On one hand, I absolutely love it. It's an amazing place to listen to and discover all sorts of music. But on the other hand, as a musician and a music fan, I fundamentally disagree with what it stands for and its place in the modern music industry. So I wanted to break it down here on the channel. Here are the reasons why I love and hate Spotify. First, let's talk about the love. So one of the main reasons I love Spotify is music discovery. For a lot of us, Spotify has opened up the world of music. There are so many new artists and older artists that we've never listened to discover. There's editorial playlists which are put together to serve our specific interests and our specific listening habits. There's recommendations. There's finding your next favorite band. As someone who still loves listening to new music, the music discovery of Spotify is something that I really love. And then there's the access to the back catalogs. It's not just new artists that we're listening to. We're going back and listening to older artists and bands that we've never listened to and albums that we've never listened to. For me, it's really fun because there might be an album that has been talked about for years, but I've never listened to it. It's in my musical blind spot and I want to listen to it. You want to listen to the entire Oasis catalog? Go for it. Have at it. A couple of summers ago, I decided I wanted to listen to all 30 plus Beach Boys studio albums, which was an epic listening experience. And I don't think that would have been possible without Spotify. And I also love some of the features on Spotify. I love Spotify Wrapped. I love some of the other user features and highlights that they've added over the years. I love seeing the analytics of my listening, my habits and my favorite artists. I think that's what makes it a little bit more fun because you're not just listening to it, you're seeing the various patterns that are happening in your listening habits and you're digging deeper into your music fandom. And then one of the main reasons I love Spotify is because of this channel. I do a lot of music reviews here on the channel. I review new albums almost every weekend. I do reviews with other YouTubers where we talk about a lot of new albums. And if I wanted to do that before Spotify and before streaming, I would have had to maybe get a promo copy from the label or from the artist, or maybe spend money on every album, which would then add up over time, making it hard for somebody like me who doesn't make a lot of money doing YouTube reviewing albums. That would make it a lot harder for me to review those albums. So having a Spotify subscription for a generally low monthly fee in general makes it a lot easier for a music reviewer on YouTube like myself. So those are some of the reasons why I love Spotify. Why do I hate Spotify? Well, the reasons are multiple, so here we go. I think one of the things that we all struggle with as music fans and musicians and just people who love art in general is the low royalty rate and payout to artists. This is something that is well known to everybody, but yet never seems to change, even though this is something we all know about. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's no reason why this should be a thing, but Spotify and labels have conspired over the years to, again, find a way to exploit and screw over artists. Wait a minute, you're telling me that a record label screwed over musicians? Get out of here. And another thing that we all love to see is when there are massive layoffs during massive revenue for Spotify. I think employees have been losing their jobs at Spotify left, right, and center while profits go up and monthly membership prices increase for users. And yet again, employees lose their jobs, musicians get screwed over. So I'm starting to think, what is the upside of Spotify in some of these cases? And like I said, it's awesome to be able to go back and listen to an artist's entire catalog on Spotify, but even Spotify might be missing some of those bands' key albums or parts of their catalog, or missing artists altogether that maybe not have a distribution deal or don't have their music available on Spotify. It's not all there. Most of it is, but then some music can just up and disappear from Spotify at the drop of the hat because of different licensing deals and different territories and all sorts of different things going on there. It's really frustrating at the end of the day that with Spotify, you don't own any of the music that you love. It could just disappear like that. And I have to say, as a musician myself with Spotify, I just sometimes feel that there is a preferential treatment for bigger artists, even though in general, in 2024, music is far more democratized, and any indie artist or any band like myself can upload their music to Spotify and have it be available to potentially millions and maybe even eventually billions of listeners. It's still very much favored towards big labels and big artists who have the money and the power to launch a big marketing campaign, to have the money and the influence to get on playlists and get featured, which is something that a lot of indie artists can't do. And that's really been the crux of the whole issue as an indie artist for a long time. It's like, okay, the music is out there. Well, you can put your music anywhere. Anybody can listen to it. That's true. You can put your music anywhere. You can put it on Spotify, but without some sort of marketing push, it's not going to get heard by a lot of people. As a musician, I'm showing my age here, but I've been playing in bands for 25 years now. I've seen and gone through a lot of the changes in the music industry and the releasing of music over the years. And for me, as a musician, there's been no more frustrating time to be a musician and to be making music, because the whole Spotify game in general is very, very frustrating. My band has spent money on ads to get people to listen to our music on streaming pages, on Spotify, putting together landing pages, and you do your best to properly pitch your song to Spotify and get on playlists, but at the end of the day, it kind of feels like it's all for nothing. Even those on YouTube will tell you all these different tips for getting listened to on Spotify, that the end game really isn't to get listeners on Spotify. It's to get those people to convert to some other platform like a Patreon or a mailing list where you can actually monetize your audience and start to make a decent profit. We all know that the payouts are so low. It's this common knowledge thing. It's not new to anybody to know that artists make nothing from their streams on Spotify, but it's getting harder to make a career in 2024, to make a career in music with these Spotify payouts. And really, when you think about it, Spotify is the only game in town for a lot of new artists. If you want your music to be heard by people, whether it be industry people or fans or anybody, you have to have your music on Spotify, because that's the place where a majority of people are listening to music. It has to be on Spotify, or otherwise people just might not listen. And that's really, really frustrating when you're a musician or an artist, because you want to try and convert those fans into more than just Spotify streams. You want to try to get them to buy merch. You want to try and get them to come out to the show, maybe buy an album, do something more than just streaming, because you want them to be a fan. But it feels like to get people to listen, you have to get them within that Spotify ecosystem, and it's very hard to get them out of there. And like I said, it's very cool that you have access for a low monthly fee, access to the majority of recorded music that has ever been written, with more music being added every day. That is very, very cool. But it also feels a little bit wrong, because when you think about the old days, and again, showing my age, when you think about the old days when you were into an album, it costs like what, 10 to 15 to 20 bucks, maybe even 25 bucks per album when you went to the store to listen to it or bought it on iTunes, maybe 10 bucks for an album on iTunes. But now you get every album ever for a low monthly fee. And it's like less money to buy basically everything when it comes to music. And I benefited. Like, I love music. It's my favorite thing, but I also do feel like it's cheating in a way. And with all this being said, all of this has led to the massive devaluation of music in general. People just don't appreciate it and love it as much as they used to, even though it's something that we all need in our lives. With that being said, the things I love and the things I hate about Spotify, what are the solutions as musicians and as music fans? Well, for musicians, like I said, it's really, really hard right now when Spotify is the only game in town if you want to get noticed and you want to have people have access to your music. But I can get into it in a whole other video, but there are ways to monetize outside of Spotify. So maybe try to get people to listen on Spotify and then figure out ways to get them monetized and to get them into your band elsewhere, because Spotify should not be the only thing you do as a musician. But then that goes back to the music fan side of things. I'm a musician and a music fan. I'm both. And the music fan and the musician says, support the artist. Go see them live. Buy the merch. Go directly to the source. If you love a band and you discover them on Spotify, get off Spotify, have some personal responsibility as a music fan, and go support your favorite bands elsewhere that will more directly benefit them. For me in general, I listen to a lot of Spotify, especially on the go when I'm at work. It's a great way to be able to listen to music in multiple different places. You can pull up the app anywhere you go. But I use Spotify pretty much as a music sampler. Like for me, this is really old school, even in 2024. But I still have my 80 gig iPod. I know not everybody might have these, but I still have my 80 gig iPod, which I listen to in my car with Apple CarPlay, so I can listen to my music collection on the go. But basically, when it comes to music, I'll sample something on Spotify, and then it goes into two different streams as a music fan. So if I really, really do like it, I will go on iTunes, and then I'll buy the song on iTunes and load it on to my iPod. So I've supported the band that way. And then also, if I really do like it, if it's one of those bands like Oasis or Biffy Clyro that I really love, or my go-to hardcore fans, I will always pick up the album on hard copy, whether it be a CD or vinyl, and probably even a digital copy as well. So sometimes when I like a band or I'm supporting a band, I'm potentially buying the album 3 different times, which might be overkill for some people, but for me, that's the way that I like to support bands. Another way, of course, is Spotify could increase the price again for users every month, which I don't really think that's fair for them to keep passing that cost down to users, but they could also increase the royalties for artists. I definitely know that won't happen, but it's a nice dream. But the thing that I can definitely say about the solutions to loving and hating Spotify, because it's not going anywhere, is that we have to value music more in general. It gives us so much. I hate that people devalue music and don't think that it's worth paying for in any significant way, because music gives us so much emotionally in our lives. It's everywhere we go. I couldn't go a single day without music, without my favorite bands to be able to listen to. So I think we should treat all music and artists with respect and reverence, and give music all the respect it deserves, because without music, life is just not worth living. Might sound serious, but it's true. And those are the reasons why I love and hate Spotify, some solutions to how we can continue to enjoy music while supporting our favorite artists. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure to toss me a thumbs up. I'd appreciate that. Make sure to smash the subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos, and make sure to follow me on social media across platforms at Nick Chino Music. But I'll see you guys again for another video here on the channel. Until then, rock on, everybody.